Britain today is a powerhouse of ideas, experiment, imagination.
Hello, Internet. My name is John Kulas. I am a 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology, 10-year user of R for statistical applications, and for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been using R to author things like slide presentations and papers and technical reports. So every week we get together and make ourselves available if there's other people out there who are interested in doing something similar. This week, I'll be curious to see if anyone shows up this week. There's a conflict that but Tuesday evenings, I have another obligation, and I've been kind of skipping out of it. It's a occasional one. It shows up every other month or so. But tonight, Dr. Fred Oswald is actually giving a talk, and that's the conflict. And he's a big draw and a great speaker and a great researcher. So kind of conflicted. I would have liked to have seen that, but of course I want to be here to be with all of you, even if all of you is not a ton of you. We got a little community going here, so I'm happy to be here. So the funniest things go through my just people's heads at weird times, I suppose. But for whatever reason, when that British themed song was playing, all of a sudden I remembered that I had a load of laundry in the washer that never got transferred to the dryer at like 2 o'clock this afternoon or so, 1 o'clock this afternoon. So I don't, my Tuesdays and Thursdays have become kind of my busy days. So I guess if things go haywire, it's probably going to be on a Tuesday or Thursday. Anyway, that's not relevant to what we're talking about. What we're talking about is using R as an authoring platform. So using it, not considering it, so shifting your frame a little bit in terms of how you think about it, not thinking about it as a statistical platform, as something to swap in to replace your previous statistical platform, but rather thinking of it as a start to finish product maker. And so whatever it is your project is, you can fully execute it all within R. And that's why we're here to promote that. Not because anybody's promoting us, but because I believe so incredibly strongly that this should be the way that people who touch data in some way in their work should be operating in a manner consistent with this. It just minimizes error to such a great degree, and really facilitates going back and and reconstructing errors when they do happen. That's part of minimizing error. Is not the error itself, but the consequences of error. So every week, what we do is we'll do a quick recap. I say quick, but I've been a professor for too long, so my quick is like an Ents quick, if you know the Lord of the Rings Ents. I don't think I'm quite as bad as Treebeard. I'm the Quicksilver of the Ents, I would say. So we'll do a recap of what happened last week, and then we'll get into a focal issue. And of course, if anyone's out there and comes across this and has a question about being curious about how to do something in R, if you're trying to create or produce a slide deck or trying to produce a website or a Shiny app or a book or just a report, whatever it may be, I'll try to keep an eye on the comments. And so that always takes priority. If someone has a question about how to do something, that's the resource that we want to provide and why we actually want to be here on a weekly basis, on a semi-regular basis. That's why I skip out on the other events and obligations. So we can set some sort of regularity with this and expectations of people. So tonight will be interesting because tonight I found an extension that reminded me of Kahoot. So maybe we'll look at Kahoot a little bit. As a matter of fact, when I first put the slide deck together, I described it as Kahoot-like, but it doesn't. We're not going to, I don't believe, we're going to delve into any sort of communal sharing of results, which is one aspect of Kahoot, is everyone gets to see how they do relative to others, and it's more of a competition. I think we're going to be able to do an internal competition or just you yourself as the respondent to the quiz items. We can have a progress bar for you, but I don't think that's going to be shared. So there's some Kahoot-ish elements, but really what we're talking about is enabling multiple choice type quiz questions within your slide deck. And for someone like me, who still dabbles a little bit in a university context in terms of lectures and instruction, it's something that I can see incorporating and using. So I'm gonna have fun with it. I think I haven't tested it out myself yet. Every week when we go through these, I try to come in fairly fresh to show the obstacles and frustrations, which is an important part of doing this, is knowing that other people encounter those too, and overcome seeing how to overcome those and work past those. So we'll see once we get in there and explore it. But before we do that, let's see what happened last week. Let's get our transition going here.
Well, it looks as if our heroes have been caught between two fires this time. Not only is Boris Badenov trying to keep them away from Mount Flatten and Bullwinkle's inheritance, but now a mysterious stranger has trapped them in a speeding limousine, which is remotely controlled from a spot miles away. Unfortunately, this Newman has pushed the wrong button, and the limousine was torn apart.
Oh, crabapple.
Are you all right, Bullwinkle?
I reckon so. What transpired?
I figure whoever was controlling this car pushed the reverse button.
But where's the bottom of the car, Rock?
A good question, that. For at that moment, the bottom half of the limousine was running through the country, tearing up rocks and cactus. Meanwhile, our friends courageously decided to push on to Mount Flatten on foot across the hot, dry, burning desert.
I was thinking halfway through there, is it possible for me to make it to the basement of my place here and get that load of laundry into the dryer? And it probably wouldn't have been, but I guarantee I'm going to forget it. So hopefully next week at this time, I don't say that load of laundry is still sitting there, because that would be bad. That might be just grounds for just leaving it on the edge of the driveway and let the garbage pick it up. But I almost guarantee that I'm going to forget it tonight. It's a foregone conclusion, I think. So last week was a Diego week. And by that, I mean Diego kind of took the lead. And when Diego takes the lead, there's going to be more quantitative focus. Diego's our quant expert here that shows up occasionally. But what Diego is interested in, I think, in his real world work application for a little while here, he's been working on dimensionality of assessments, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but That's typically the context within which you're doing this set of analyses. And so he wanted to play a little bit with this parallel analysis. And so parallel analysis is a kind of evolutionary product of an old visual called a scree plot. And so parallel analysis just takes the concept of a scree plot and adds a little more information. One of the packages that facilitates this is, I think, authored by, well, I know who it's authored by, but I think the author of this was one of the proponents, one of the earlier proponents of using parallel analysis to augment your scree plots. Bill Revell, I think he's at Northwestern, a personality researcher. And so he also authored the psych package, and within the psych package, the parallel analysis itself is accomplished with this command here, this function fa.parallel. And so what Diego did was he fed in a correlation matrix as the object, and then there's some specifications in terms of specifics for running the analysis itself. I believe that those are probably defaults that Diego asked for, but it's extraction methods, and there's different kind of traditions for different disciplines in terms of how to go about executing that. And the parallel analysis itself, the focus of it is this graph. Now this is essentially a scree plot, but it's a scree plot of not only actual data but also simulated data, and hence the parallel analysis in terms of these scree lines. At what point do they diverge from each other? And so the triangles, and it doesn't look like there's actual listings of markers on the simulated data, but certainly the triangles indicate eigenvalues, and those eigenvalues traditionally are associated with different dimensions within a broader item set. So I think Diego had 262 items in this set. It looks like that's about right. So I see 250 there, so 260 would sound about right. And so because these weekly sessions are focused on authoring, one of the things we did was we simply rendered this plot within a larger document, within a larger HTML document. Those HTML documents tend to be a little more forgiving and flexible than do the PDFs. There's more setup that you need on your personal computer in order to render to a PDF. And there's occasionally different scripting that you need if you want to get a little more customized with it. So in addition to Markdown, you may need or want to apply some LaTeX or LaTeX. And so we thought, in order to fit it into the general theme of these weekly sessions, let's see if we can, one, render it within a document, but then two, maybe prettify it a little bit, make it a little prettier. And again, the perspective I'm coming from here is this looks like it came straight out of 1994, which generally speaking I'm fine with. I like that and probably prefer that, so that's fine. But maybe there's something we can do to make it a little prettier. And so one of the things that Diego found was he found that there were actually, what's being plotted here are stored as objects within the output of this analysis itself. So he stored this analysis and he stored the output of this analysis, as an object, and that object is on line 11 here. It's PAR. So what we did was we went and explored that object and looked inside that object a little bit. And what Diego found was that within that PAR object, there's two vectors of information, two just sets of numbers. One was called FA values and one was called FA sim. And so the FA values are the eigenvalues associated with your factor analysis given your data and correlation matrix. And then the simulated data is just based on the number of elements, number of items that we actually have. So, and again, this isn't the prettiest of scripts here, but it's functional. So what we did was we simply extracted those two vectors from within the PAR object that Diego created, put them back together, and then threw them into a ggplot. And so this ggplot, you can prettify it all you want. I didn't spend a lot of time on this. We actually ran out of time at the end of last week, so I just did a fairly quick ggplot off of the objects that Diego identified we can extract from the analysis itself. And I don't know how much prettier it is. It's not a lot prettier. I played with those colors a little bit. Played with the type of marker that we actually have. So we have a triangle, and we have a it's hard to see that triangle actually, but there's a triangle for the simulated data, and there's a blue dot for the eigenvalues themselves from the actual data. We also did a mapping to size. Now the size mapping I didn't play with. There's only one value above 30 here, and that's a insane eigenvalue. He's got 262 items, so the magnitude of these values themselves are a little higher than what we would typically expect to see in normal assessment contexts. But it does make it a little easier, I think, to see than the 1990s plot. I don't know. I guess whether it's prettier or not is debatable. But you could certainly take that and alter it even further and play with it however you thought you might want to actually play with it. So you can take the results of the parallel analysis, extract them fairly easily, and then get them displayed in whatever type of format you're interested in. So that was last week. Today, I'm kind of excited to play with this because, as I said, I haven't looked ahead at all, other than to just see that this possibility exists. Today, I thought we would explore this quizzing option, and so we've done this with a few different Quarto. They're called extensions, but we've explored a few different additions, add-ons, customizable features that people other than, not always other than, because sometimes these people have an affiliation with Posit, the company that makes Quarto available to us. But oftentimes these extensions are authored by people who are just out there independently working on something. It's funny because Quarto piggybacks on and utilizes a lot of existing open source projects out there, things like the mermaid diagrams and things like the multiplex option and the parallax options that we saw and could incorporate to kind of add functionality to our slides. We see that you can go out there and add these functions, but sometimes the functions themselves might interfere with the normal, non-elaborated functionality of your product itself. So I'll be curious to see if this quiz option, and again, I forgot to put the slides in the comment line tonight. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and do that. These are always the same. It's always the same start for the URL, and then the ending of the URL is just the date using underscores. So let me get that in here. There we go. So as always, if you're interested in checking these out, and they do have some functionality in them, primarily the hyperlinks. Now, when we put code, you can also see the code in these. If I go back to the code, and you can always copy from the clipboard that code. You don't have access to the data at this point. I mean, you could get access to it. It's online currently, but you don't have that locally. So this particular session's script is going to be of limited use and utility, I would think. But the hyperlink for the quizzing extension, that is something that you might be interested in. Now, the first thing I do by default now when I'm looking at these extensions is the GitHub repository, and they're almost universally on a GitHub repository. First of all, one of the things you might look for is to see recent activity. So this has been updated within the last month here, so it's something that someone's been working on. January 18th was the last push that we have here. But the thing that the convention that people seem to be using when they're acting, interfacing with Quarto, or even R Markdown, and want to add something to it, is in this About box here, they're actually commonly putting a link to an example or a help page or something that's useful. So I just accessed that link and it brought me to a standard looking Quarto file. I can tell it's I can tell it's a Reveal.js presentation just from the just from the centering and the font and the layout and the three horizontal. Whoa. Did that happen to everybody, or is that just me? I max headroomed out there for a second. Does anyone know who Max Headroom is? Apparently the internet does. My goodness. I hope other people can see that because I'm glitching like crazy. Let me see if I have a glitch option here.
Intruder alert, intruder alert. Yelda humanoid.
Sheesh. Okay. So I can tell it's a Reveal.js presentation slide decks. They by default don't have that mouse wheel enabled. That's something I do on mine. So you're gonna have to use the keyboard to navigate. But this is what we're expecting to see and play with and work with. So there's some nice description here, and I have seen this. So I did look far enough in advance to actually see this. So click on one of the options, then click the check button. If you got it wrong, click reset. So what's the capital of France? Of course, everyone knows the capital of France is London. So we'll check that. See if it, oh, incorrect. All right, so getting feedback there. It says incorrect. Try Berlin. Oh, London stays red. Interesting. Okay. Go to Paris and check. Okay. So, one of the things we'll want to see is something like, oh, there's a reset button. Okay. I was a little curious why that was red, but we didn't use the reset. So the authors of this have already thought further in advance. So let's go ahead. We'll do the correct button. Hit next. Alternatively, you can select each option using your number keypad. Okay, so they have shortcuts here. And they gave us, look at that. They gave us the correct answer. If you're going to give an example of how to use the keyboard, don't give the correct answer. This test is now just blown up. This test is no good. Validity is very dubious and questionable because they gave everyone the correct answer. They should have said, for example, click 3. But anyway, so we'll click 3. We'll guess Berlin, capital of the USA, capital of Spain. Why did they only have 3 now? That's interesting. That's a little unusual. You can use C to check. Okay, some more shortcuts. Q to reset. So we have these Simon Says colored type buttons here on the boy. Max Headroom and Simon Says. If some internet archivist in 100 years looks at this, they're going to be confused because they're going to be like, well, it says that this idiot is here on February 18th, 2025, but he keeps referencing the 1980s. What's going on? T to shuffle the oh, okay, this one is interesting. T to shuffle the question slides. So that is something that I have not seen on any other slide presentations. I'm wondering how they'll do that. So we have France, USA, Spain, Germany. So what is that? FUSG. Let's see if that does anything. Oh, toggle. I think toggle just advances, it looks to me like. So yeah. It doesn't mix them, which would have been the really curious option. It looks like it just, maybe it does. Maybe it does mix them. How the heck does it do that? It doesn't mix our slide outline. Okay, we'll look into that. So we'll look into that. So toggle, it appears, does randomize the ordering of presentation of these. That is really interesting. Okay. I wish I could go back now because I want to see what their little helpful notes are on the bottom of these in sequence. But math expressions using LaTeX, that's The title slide is also randomized. So the title slide is now just appearing at some weird random spot. Keyboard shortcuts can be changed in the YAML, so we'll play with that. I don't really use keyboard shortcuts all that much. We can get some code in there. That's nice. I have no idea what the correct answer is here. I guess it's 4, just out of luck. I got a 33% chance of getting that right, and lo and behold, we did. Formula for area of a circle. I do know that one. I remember that one from the GREs or SAT, ACT. I don't know, something. It's been too long. Capital. We already said what the capitalist Spain is. We don't need to do that anymore. Numbers. Data explanation attribute. So what's that going to do? Okay, it's giving a little more directed feedback in terms of, I wonder if that's my camera that's glitching. It just seems really weird. I can't unplug it right now. So, okay, so we should be able to provide some directed feedback. Oh, with emojis as well. I love putting emojis into things, so we can try that. Pictures as response options. Okay, nice. All right, so let's check this sucker out here. Let's see how we can do our own quiz. This will install the extension under the extensions subdirectory. I think we are going to, there's so much in this project folder that we're using for our live streams. I'm going to enter a different project folder. I have a temp one. Actually, I have several temp ones, which is why this one's called temp 3, I'm sure. I am not sure what's in it. Let's see, publishing? Oh, when we were talking about publishing. Okay. There's no extension folder in here. I think this is safe, so I think we should go ahead and try to install this extension within this project folder. Now, for the last probably, I don't know, 5-6 years, so not the entire time I've been using R as an authoring platform, but a couple years in, I did start to almost exclusively work on projects within project folders, and it is the way to do this. So it just is going to simplify a lot. The extensions are going to be there. If I want to call my data, it's going to be there. You don't have to worry about localized folder directories and spaces. And so, especially when you start to share your projects with other people, they're going to have different naming conventions and different structures on their personal machines. And just working within a project directory obviates all the problems that come with that sort of customization across collaborators. So we're definitely going to work within, we can just work within this project directory. You can probably just overwrite this slide right here. There's nothing going on. I don't even know why I had this directory. Like I said, we must have just wanted to test out publishing, and it's just the Quarto default, so that's fine. We'll use that. I am going to copy the Quarto add Parmesan. I'm sorry, dude. What's your name? It is Parmesan. Who is Parmesan here? Sam Parmer. Okay. Sam, thanks for putting this out. Sorry I called you Parmesan. Unless you're a big lasagna fan and you like Parmesan, I guess. So that code should go in your terminal. If it doesn't go in the terminal, it's going to go in the console. I forget off the top of my head where we actually do these commands. I guess it is in the terminal. So yes, we're going to walk through a little wizard here. It always, even though it's the first time, it's going to say it's making changes. The change is just a first-time installation. So a few I've done such a bad job of being a good kind of steward of good processes. I never look at the documentation. I mean, we got the GitHub page, so we probably don't need hopefully anything more than that. You see now there's an extension that's actually extensions folder that's put in my file space here. It's Mr. Parmesan. And we see the quiz extension, and I'm guessing there's a lot of CSS in this that gets it to look like what we are used to seeing in the context of things like online quizzes. So I'm going to go back to my root directory for this project, and then let's take a look and see how we start it. He says use the reveal.js plugin. Easy enough. We'll copy the entire YAML. This is sufficient for an entire YAML. So I'm just going to replace my lines 2 and 3 with the lines that he had specified, keeping in mind that spacing might lose a little something in the copy and paste. So we may have to go through and play with that a little bit, change that a little bit. Hey, Max, lemon popsicle. Yeah, we'll have lemon popsicle be the answer to one of these questions for sure. That's kind of our thing now on this weekly. You know what's interesting is and now this might be an issue with this. Oh my goodness! Look, I might need to unplug and see if it is me. Uh-oh, I just lost me totally, didn't I? Well, I think it is a hardware issue. So hopefully we're on a tenuous thread here, but hopefully we can make it for the rest of the session here. So what I was going to say is the interesting thing is that my mouse wheel is now enabled, even though the YAML hasn't specified it. So I wonder if Quarto has, if it's the version of Quarto I'm on or something. But anyway, so on my, now I lost my doggone mouse. Man, things are going bad tonight. It must be, how did I get my camera but lost my mouse? I have no mouse. Oh, geez. Come on, thing. I don't even know how to. This all started with lemon popsicle. Max, I blame lemon popsicle. There we go. Do people hear the beep 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 beep? I'm getting some weird feedback from my. I'm gonna stay in one position. I'm gonna try not to move at all, and we'll see if we can get this done. The mouse wheel has been enabled, which I thought was curious. I'm gonna try to not move at all the rest of this session, and we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to try to find our help page again. I think I lost it. So let's go to the slides. I'm really careful or scared to just move with how tenuous everything is. I think what I'm gonna have to do, first of all, I'm gonna have to get my clothes out of my washer and put them back in the dryer. But secondly, I'm gonna have to get under my desk here and make sure all my connections are solid, because it seems like that's probably what's going on. Okay, so then use the following syntax within a slide to create a quiz question. There will be a button for each option and buttons to check or reset each. So the button for each option and to check or reset looks like it's default. So I'm guessing we can probably go in there and override that. I'm just going to copy this question and we'll see. We'll replace the first slide with this question, and then we can go ahead and tweak it and play with it if it works. Hey, look at that. Well, now I lost the mouse wheel. I don't know what's going on. My computer is just going crazy. So it randomized the order of the options. Did everyone else see that? So I have option 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then here I have 3, 1, 4, and 2. Now, the checking, the default is it's just saying correct. The reset works. Previous and next, previous and next are just going to take me to the next slide, regardless of um, whether I have content in there or not. So the quiz question span or CSS specification looks like it's pretty easy to incorporate. Let's say what is the speed of light? And then we have lemon popsicle. I spelled it right that time. Option 1, we can have none of your business. Option 3, we can say what? Limeade popsicle or limeade bicycle. Just to be, oh, I moved too much. Just to be kind of similar flavor to the lemon popsicle. And I guess we should not capitalize P. And then option 4 is, what is the speed of light? It's a really big number, isn't it? It's like 2, 400, 400, 5,000, like something per second. Sure, that looks good. You can tell I'm not a real physicist. Okay, so let's see what that renders like. And it did, just by default, it looks like it's reordering those. That's obviously wrong because we know the real answer is lemon popsicle. Yay. Okay, so that's super easy. Let's see what kind of tweaks we can do to our questions because I really kind of like that default. What I would like to do is I would like to get a progress bar. So I'm envisioning using this in a classroom setting so students can see the percent. If we were to give them 10 questions, we could see the actual percent they get or the number they get out of those 10. Or maybe there's a progress bar we can add. So let's see what we got here. Advanced usage. That's us. How do you feel out there, people who are watching a guy who can't plug in his own cam, that we are following the advanced usage portion of this help file here? I feel pretty advanced. I feel pretty good about that. Default options are captured in the, don't be scared when you see these technical sounding things. Most of that can be just normally executed within your broader YAML or within the formatting of the, in this case, question itself. So we got our shortcut keys. I don't think we need to play with those. I do want to play, oh, shuffle options true. There we go. Let's set that one off. So I really don't like that. I really don't like that. I like to control my own orderings. So, by the way, did anyone ever tell you if you take so I'm gonna get rid of this default, sorry, and I'm gonna indent quiz. So if I look at the alignment on the left, I got my Q right under the V in the help page, and I'm doing the same thing in my own script file here, Q right under the V, and then I'm going to indent again. Ooh, that indent looked like it went too far. So it looks like I want underneath the I, and these indents are the YAMLs, this front meta matter is really picky about things like indentation. And the reason I'm not copying the whole thing on the left, the green bit, the highlighted bit that you see on the left, is I'm curious to see option by option if we can just kind of incrementally tweak what we have that currently works. So I'm going to do shuffle options false. So we do not want, we need to specify where lemon popsicle goes. I don't want it to be randomly executed here. So the expectation now, and I'll put numbers on these just to, we'll see if this throws anything off, because this is also how you do bulleted lists. I think we'll be okay. But we'll see what happens here. So I should get 1 through 4 if I re-render this. Interesting, it's not showing that number. What if I do, I'm going to get rid of the periods that I'm guessing didn't like. There we go. So if I change this to true, that 1, 2, 3, 4 isn't necessarily going to be in the same. Okay, so this is definitely on line 6 here. This is definitely an option. Even if we didn't want to override the default, this is definitely an option I would keep in my YAML. I feel a sense of excitement and danger. Let's see, is this you, Max? So even if this is something that we don't want to use, this is so useful an option that it's something that I would keep in my YAML and just comment out, so I know that it's there if I want to actually turn it on or turn it off. I think we will keep it off. So I'm gonna actually, because the default is on, I'm not gonna comment that out. We'll actually keep that in there. Cool, I like that option. Let's see, default correct. Let's do a default incorrect. Let's say, you idiot. Just like, what is it, Ren or Stimpy? I don't know. Is that how you spell idiot? I don't know if there's a technical correct spelling of idiot. All right, let's see here. Let's check it. Oh, I am so going to use this. If any of my students are watching, you're going to get this in class. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I wonder if we can get, one of the things about Quarto is in the YAML, it's more difficult to get our code in there. So I don't know if we can get a picture in there. I wouldn't mind trying to get a picture in there for the feedback, but yeah, it is what it is. I guess if we did, now why is this white? It was just black. If we did the incorrect, we should also probably do the correct. So I don't know. Any suggestions on what to do for correct? Big deal. Big whoop. You think you're so smart. That's a lot better than a you idiot. So, lemon popsicle. Big whoop, you think you're... I wonder if we can change... So we should be able to change the color of that, but we might need to get into the actual CSS that he's got here. He or she. No, it is a he, isn't it? So let's change that. Let's change that to badass. Actually, we can do all kinds of things. I wonder... Well, this isn't what it's intended for, but... Oh, I kind of like that. Lilac? Let's do lilac. See what that actually looks like. We can add the weight to it too. That wasn't actually very... It was kind of light in terms of the specification. You can change the font size, make it a little bigger as well. So I've been using that EM specification, which is, it doesn't exactly stand for this, but it works for me as a mnemonic extent magnified. So that's going to be 1.5 times normal specification. So the neat thing about this newer Quarto is those changes take place. You probably saw my preview flash. Changes seem to take place immediately. Okay. So I did the wrong. So I did the wrong specification. So I did the option button, and I should have been looking for not the option button, but the feedback itself, the big whoop. Really what I wanted was big whoop. Next, reset. Feedback. I wonder if it's in feedback. Score. All right, we'd have to look a little further in there. So we did alter what it looks like, but we altered a different element of what it looks like than what I was interested in. That's okay. We probably shouldn't play with that anyway. Leave it alone. The guy knows what he's doing. Mr. Parmesan knows what he's doing. So include score. I don't know what that is. Let's see what it is. This might be the keep track of what's going on. So we'll change that to true. I'm going to blow this up so we can see. Oh yeah, there we go. So I get a % correct down there. I love it. Man, I like that. I wonder if, let's put a couple of questions in just to see if it tracks % correct without the user going in and doing a check, him or herself. So I'm just going to copy this and let's put it in as a second question. What is the likelihood that Kulas leaves his clothes in the washer for a full week? Tune in next week, you'll find out. We'll keep one, none of your business. I kind of like that. We'll change it just to be a little different. We'll say Nunya. How do you spell Nunya? Nanya? We'll do Nanya. Nunya business. I'm going to change the correct answer. Now they're using this bracketed span specification. I think we can probably play with that as well. Do different stylings if we want, as well as the correct. None your business, very low, almost certain. I guess if we're having some sort of gradation here, that should be the bottom. Now the bulleting aspect here, I'll be curious about too. I wonder if we can do different specifications other than these dashes. But let's do a few in here. We don't need the numbers anymore since we know that the sequencing is working like we want it to. Very low, kind of likely. Who knows? Yep, probably. Those are official psychology response options. We'll have the correct answer be yup, probably. So I'm going to do the curly bracket with the dot correct and then the square brackets around that correct answer. And then again, one of the reasons we're doing two is we're going to see if that % correct tracks, even though we don't check. So we know, of course, that the speed of light is lemon popsicle. So we go next. No, it doesn't. And the other thing we're seeing is with that many response options, it's flowing off the page. So I'm going to get rid of some of those. So let's get rid of who knows. So that was 6. It looks like 6 is asking too much. So 5 should be okay. 4 is definitely good. I'm going to re-render that. And lemon popsicle, check. I wonder if we can override that. Next. You know, even 5 isn't rendering that well. So 4 looks like 4 looks like a very reasonable number for the layout that they have. So you might be limited to 4. Big whoop, you think you're so smart, 50% correct. Can we get 100% correct? Oh, the check doesn't. Okay, so the other thing is it's advancing upon check off that last. Oh no, I hit next. I'm sorry, that was me. Yay, 100% correct. We're so smart. We're so smart. Okay, so the item being that long, as well as our blowing up the text, looks like it kind of pushed some of our feedback off the page. So I'm going to go ahead and undo what we had done. Let's see if there's another green color. It was probably similar to this one. I'm going to put that in instead of our lilac. And option button selected. We could, like I said, there's some little things we could change on here. I'm trying to see if the container areas or if the size of things are something that we wanted to change. Now, we could create our own CSS in here as well. So if I did a smaller and did, what do we want to do on that? Probably font size. I'm going to do a 0.5. And then that semicolon after it is important. So semicolon says I'm done. Yes, I know that what I wrote is there and I'm now done with it. And the reason I did that smaller is I'm wondering if we might want to, for this one, because the question is so long, instead of altering the question, now theoretically I should be able to wrap that in my smaller CSS, and then this whole block should render higher so it's not over plotting like you see here with the percent correct. So let's actually try that. So I have my quiz question. Now the other thing I need to do is figure out how to bracket that. I think I'm going to try it as a fenced div, which I tend to avoid. Because again, if you've watched this over the course of a couple of weeks, it's just you start to proliferate these colons when they're nested within each other, and it gets just tough to see where they start and finish. Didn't like that. So we might have to try a bracketed span. It's possible that it would work if we just put this in the quiz question bracket, curly bracket. And again, this isn't the point of tonight, is playing with this. But I'm just kind of curious. So that did work, it looks like, right? It's not over plotting anymore. Now this doesn't look all that much different to me. Let's take a screenshot of that. You notice how I talk in the royal we a lot? We. Like, who's we? It's just me here tonight. Although, if anyone saw when my camera disabled, Diego was in there as my picture. So I don't know what's going on. But apparently Diego is me. So let's actually take smaller off and see if that did have an effect. It looks to me like, for whatever reason, there was less over plotting. So it's funny because it's not showing up the way I thought it would, but it's definitely taking up less space. So, oh, where'd everybody go? I lost everybody. So it looks like we can actually affect some change in the specification of the way in which the question is rendered. So that little bit of CSS that we wrote looks like it is having an effect on how things are being displayed. We'd have to look a little further into it to kind of dig and play. But the other option there would be obviously to make that item stem, the question itself, a little less ridiculous. It's just too long. All right, so let's see if we got other options here that we might want to play with, and then we can just call it a night. And I can reset all my stupid chords, and I can remember to get my clothes out of the washer into the dryer. Oh, reset and shuffle. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that, I guess. I guess one of the things I'm curious about is if we can get that tracking of percent correct without the checking. Default correct. Oh, and custom explanations. I guess we could play with that as well. So that's another bracketed span. If that didn't, so I just sneezed like very violently. If that didn't unplug all my wires, I'm amazed that it didn't actually. So it looks like we use bracketed spans here again with a data explanation. And then the include score. It will be formatted as, we could probably change it if we needed to. We'll disable the reset button. Okay, well, that kind of makes sense. All right, so in terms of built-in specifications, it doesn't look like the keeping track of score without checking is a built-in option, so we would have to play with that a little bit. But the data explanation, certainly, we should have. So we'll just add it to this last one here. So data explanation, they use an equal? I think it was an equal sign. Equals, yeah. Equals, and then in double quotes. Single quotes usually works too. So we'll do equals, and we'll try single quotes, see if that works. Just a little different from the help specification. What is the likelihood that Kulas leaves his clothes in the washing machine for a full week? Very low. No, he is very absent-minded. It can't be low. The probability cannot be low. None your business. We'll add one to that too. We'll try double quotes on that. Data explanation equals double quotes. Although we appreciate the sentiment of this very American attitude, this is not the correct answer. And then almost certain, we'll say, sir, you offend me greatly. All right, let's see how that goes. We still have our running tally, so we'll do. What the heck happened here? Did we changed the ordering of the? Now, how did that happen? I think we changed the ordering of the questions. Now I'm hitting toggle now, so my toggle is doing it. But once you hit toggle, I don't think you can get out of it. So, all right, let's go. All right, before we end, we're going to check and see if that's something that I just did right now, or if it's something that the YAML got somehow specified, or we can override. So, none of your business. Let's check that. Although we appreciate the sentiment of this very American attitude, this is not the correct answer. All right, reset it. Ooh, the reset's not working. Very low. No, he's very absent-minded. Probability cannot be low. Almost certain. Sir, you offend. I mean, those are working fine. It's just. Oh, it still gave us a. That's kind of. So you can cheat the system. So even if your first option is wrong, if eventually you stumble upon the correct one, it's going to count it as correct. So this kind of tally as we go. I don't know how interested I am in that, but this is very Christmassy, isn't it? So I have a very Christmas looking display here, or the Moroccan flag or something. I don't know what that is. Red and green. Okay, I'm going to render this one more time to see if the toggling is coming. I don't see. Shuffle options is not items. Shuffle options is the ordering of the response options that we have. So that only other thing that we played with that could be interfering with it is the include score. No, okay, it's right now. I must have accidentally hit the T button, so it looks like we're actually okay. The reset is the curious one, though. The reset is the one that doesn't seem to play friendly. And I think, did they say that might be the include score? So let's set that to false. I think there might have been something in instructions that mentioned that. Lemon popsicle, of course, we know that's correct. And then here, check reset. Yep. Okay. So what it is it's actually there is a include score as well as the reset on the check that aren't playing nice with each other. So it looks like you want an either or for that particular feature. But this is cool. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a couple of slides, maybe even this week. I got a class on Thursday. And I think what I'll do is I'll put some of these quiz slides in my slide deck, and I'll get some feedback from my students and see what they think. Thanks, Max. Always love having you here. Thanks for your help. All right, I think we're done too. Max is leaving. There's no point the rest of us being here. So good night.